Hello everyone, welcome back to some Oxygen Not Included. Today I want to do just a short video on how I do my power, how I satisfy my power needs, what I do for that. So I thought I'd show all of you kind of how I do that process. So when I do a map, when I do a new game, I try to find a natural gas geyser as soon as possible. That's kind of what's important to me, I think, that I try to find first. So sometimes if you do Alt S, it'll remove the overlay and kind of let you zoom out really far. So here's the main base. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. I wasn't super lucky, and I had my first natural gas geyser I found is way up in the top corner here. So this is what you want to look for, or what I look for when I do a new game. And what I do is I will seal this off, get a nice little box around it. It can only be 1 tile thick. It's not going to break under pressure or anything. It's about 5,000 grams, 5 kg of pressure is what the max is before this will stop erupting. So once I seal this off, I put a pump in it. And then if there's any slime or polluted water, you want to make sure you get that out of there. That way you don't have to do a gas filter to filter out just the natural gas. It'll just be nothing but natural gas, so it'll be fine. Of course, I do like a double door to kind of help prevent any other gases seeping in. So the way it works is it'll pump natural gas from where the geyser is all the way down to an ice biome. Now this one's kind of been heating up because I've been doing a lot of stuff down here, but the reason I put my main power system in an ice biome is because this stuff likes to get really hot. So being in a cold environment kind of helps it keep it cool, preventing it from overheating. So what I'll do is I'll build 3 natural gas generators. Now the geyser will make enough natural gas for about 2.5 generators. So what I'll do is I'll have 2 running non-stop, and I'll have a third one as a backup that's normally shut off. And if I have any spike in power demands, I can turn that backup one on, and it will burn through the reserves. As you can see, this normally about 5,000 grams, and we're about 3,200 now. So I am burning more than I'm using, but because we had a nice reservoir, that should be okay for a while. So I'll build 3 natural gas generators kind of at the bottom, and I use mesh tile because as you can see, these do squirt out polluted water all over the place. So be prepared to have polluted water running everywhere, so you might want to have a system to deal with that. I just let it kind of run anywhere, and I'll deal with it later. And that's how I set up that. And then I have the carbon dioxide that is created from that. I have it piped down to here, where there's a carbon skimmer that will come and clean out any CO2 that gets pumped out. Now I have a bit of a chlorine problem, which is why I have an overpressure pump or vent right there, but that way this keeps pumping, and that will clean out any CO2 that we have generated from the natural gas generators. Now from there, I run the heavy watt line, heavy watt wire, up to a bank of batteries. Either 6 or 7 is what I'll have for that. The reason for that is it kind of acts as a couple different things. One is a buffer. So let's say I had this generator off and I had a higher demand for electricity that I didn't catch right away. I have a nice little storage of power that I can watch it drain down before I realize, hey, if these are at half, I'm burning through more power than I'm using. I gotta fix that. So it acts as a little bit of a buffer. It also lets you monitor your power use. Like right now we're topped off at 40, which is good. If I saw this going up or down, I kind of would know, like, okay, here's what my power is doing, and I can kind of adjust for that. After that, I have it go up to the transformers up here. So I have the heavy watt hook up to where it connects, and then it goes into the regular wire, which is a 1,000 watt limit, and then I'll wire it directly over to the base where I distribute it. The reason I don't run heavy watt through the base is, one, it requires a lot more materials to use than just regular wire. It also has a lot more negative decor effect. So if you look at your wire, it's -5, requires 25 units of whatever material. Heavy watt's 100, and it's a -25 decor. Also, if you want to run it through a wall or a floor, you have to use one of these, which again is negative 25, and it affects run speed. I think that's supposed to be not plus minus, it should just be minus. So it just gets to be kind of a hassle. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of split out. I'll try to do about 1,000 per line. Once you get towards endgame, you're not going to be doing as much research. So if you put a little bit more on this line, it's not going to be an issue usually. But you kind of want to keep an eye out what your power is doing. Now there's 2 natural gas geysers per map. So once you start kind of getting more endgame stuff, you will want to seal off your second one. Again, pipe that down. Now see, this one's getting kind of hot. It's getting very hot. And the reason I do mesh tiles for the batteries for the generators is because you will melt the ice and stuff around here eventually, and it will run down. Eventually these can flood if they get water in them. So I used mesh tiles to put everything on just so the water can drain from the batteries, from the transformers, from the power plants, the generators, as well as the carbon skimmers to make sure nothing gets flooded and keeps running. I do the same thing here. I wire, I got my carbon skimmers wired up. I have a wire for the actual gas pump in the room with the natural gas, and then I'll wire it, throughout the base and kind of go from there. So the reason I like to do natural gas first is because when we start getting into oxygen and water reclamation, either recycling or finding a steam geyser, and I'll get into that in another video, is those tend, at least for me, the way I do it, use a lot of electricity. So with the natural gas, you don't got to feed it coal, you don't got to run on a hamster wheel. You just, once you get it running, you just kind of got to watch your power levels, see if you got to turn on that third generator. But for the most part, it's basically on its own. You don't got to worry about it. It's completely automated. You just got to make sure, check it once in a while, make sure nothing's over pressure, nothing's flooded, nothing's, you got to watch your natural gas consumption if you have all 3 generators. If you have just 2 generators running, you don't got to worry about it. But if you have 3, you got to keep an eye on it. So that's how you do that. Also, make sure that if you're not using stuff, to shut it down. If you're not making a lot of plastic, if you don't have a petroleum generator, you really don't need to be refining oil all the time. Which again, this requires 480 just for the refinery. Plus you gotta power the pumps if you have a refinery. Like, see, I probably shouldn't be doing this right now. I could probably shut that down. But you want to make sure that, especially once you get towards the end game, you're not really wasting power. And there's a couple other tricks to power that you can do. I'll get into that into another video. But with your oxygen creation, there's a way to harness helium. If you have a surplus of petroleum, you can go ahead and make a petroleum generator. They do pollute like the dickens, and they do get very hot. So as you can see, it emits 500 grams a second of CO2, and it emits 1250 of polluted water. So what's interesting about the petroleum generator, though, is if you have it in a sealed room, it won't stop running if it's overpressurized. In another game I was playing, I had one of these kind of as like a backup, and I had it sealed off, and it was like 180 kilograms of pressure in this little room with no filtration. I had no way to get the CO2 out, but it keeps running. It'll keep pressurizing that room. So if you need CO2 for like a food storage room, let's see if I can find my food storage room, or something like this, if you don't want to have it super ice cold like I have it, that'd be a great source of CO2, is from that petroleum generator. But I only usually have those as like a backup, because it does take a bit of work to refine oil. And that's another way you can get natural gas for your generators. You can actually kind of, what I should have done in this particular map is just built a little room around this, and then pump the, because this will make natural gas when it's running. Take a look. There you go, 60 grams a second. So just put a pump there with maybe a filter to keep out any oxygen or CO2. And there's pump it. You can even pump it directly into the line with the natural gas for the power plant. And then it might not still be able to run 3 at once without consuming more than you're creating, but it at least helps slow down consumption of natural gas for at least one power plant. So that's an option you can do, but I'd say that's kind of more towards the end game-ish, kind of once you're looking for stuff to do. Yeah, you can actually trap this and just pump the natural gas into your natural gas power plant. One more quick option I'll talk about real fast is, let's say you don't want to refine gas yourself. Now this works best if you have an exosuit. If you don't, you're really going to stress out your duplicates and they're going to get hurt because it's so hot. But if you have crude oil touch magma, it will refine the oil for you and it will make a lot of natural gas and petroleum. Eventually the magma will cool down and turn back to, I think this igneous rock is what it turns into. But yeah, you can actually refine quite a bit of crude oil kind of quick. And a lot of it, if you have it touched. You gotta find a good spot to do it. Like if you see here's a neutronium, you can't dig through that. But you can't dig through this. So if I had a duplicate come down, penetrate this crude oil and have it come down to here, you're gonna get a lot of refined oil. I don't know if I want to say naturally, but and as you can see here, this also produces natural gas as well. So this is a oil reservoir. Put one of those oil wells on top, you will get natural gas also. Let's see if I have it here. Is it under utility? Maybe it doesn't. I thought it did make natural gas, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. But there is pressure you got to release, so you do kind of watch out for that. But yeah, there are other ways to create natural gas. And here's a little hint of my oxygen setup, but we'll get into that in another video. But yeah, that's basically how I do my electrical setup. So I think that'll do it for me for today. I just want to thank everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If not, that's fine too. You can also check out my Twitch and Twitter. It should be linked down below. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope all of you enjoyed. And I hope that I will get to see all of you the next time.